I just wanted to make a quick statement before I ask my question. I noticed in your presentation that everybody seemed to get pretty concerned seeing the spraying of the fracking waste fluid onto the fields. And I live on the blood reserve, and I've been since we found out fracking was coming to the blood reserve in 2010, trying to raise awareness about communities around us being affected by this because, Lethbridge is downstream from the blood tribe. And for us, we were told by the one fracking company that the way that they're reassuring us is that, one, the water from the blood tribe is not being utilized to frack the wells, and that number two, the water would not be disposed of on the blood reserve. So we wanted to know exactly where that wastewater was going, and this is exactly what is happening. All they would tell us was the water from these fracked wells from the blood tribe is actually being sprayed onto fields just like this, and they'd only tell us that it was 27 kilometers away from the blood reserve. So, I mean, that isn't very far from us, and I said that still doesn't matter. I mean, wherever you're spraying this stuff, that all, through the whole water cycle, it's going to end up back into the rivers and the streams. And so that is already happening locally. Like, I don't know who's actually aware of that, but with the fracking that we've had since 2010, that's where our water is being disposed of, is sprayed onto fields in the urban area, rural areas, sorry. And that's where, since I've been, I read, a lot of what you were saying, that, you've started from, I believe it was 2007, that you're getting nowhere, that this is just, and I feel the same way. I think since 2010, I feel like I've gotten nowhere, and I've spent, this has changed my life. I know what it is to haul water. The majority of the families on the blood tribe have their water trucked in, and that's just a way of life. That's all we've ever known. So when I moved to the reserve back in 2009, where my husband lives, where he grew up, they have water, they have good water from this well. And now I'm so blessed to be able to have that, and I don't even know what it would be like to live like this again, but it's always a possibility now because of the fracking. And I keep telling people, well, even though your water is getting trucked in, you got to understand, like, where does that water come from? It comes from a well somewhere. We're getting it in our communities, and it's being distributed from the communities out into the rural areas. But that water is definitely coming from a ground source, and we're just allowing this fracking to happen. So I feel the same way. I feel like, unless we actually look at moratoriums, a complete ban, what are we really doing if we're not really pushing for this? And that's what my question is to you, is where do you stand on the issue of moratoriums against fracking?
Okay, excellent comments and questions. Let's talk about the waste first. This is drilling waste, not frack waste, but I have been told by some that they're dumping the frack waste also. Drilling waste additives can be more toxic than the chemicals they put in the fracking. They don't like us to know that. They say it's just bentonite, it's just clay and water. It's not. Somebody asked me in Michigan what was going to happen to all the waste. When you think of these unconventionals that are very deep, that's a lot of waste from the drilling, then 2 to 3 kilometer legs, and many of them, that's an incredible amount of waste. And the waste brings up, often can be radioactive, brings up natural toxics like the metals and your BTEX. They don't know what to do with the waste. They have too much of it, so we will end up eating and drinking it. This is food land. I think it should not be allowed. One of the counselors for Mountain View County thinks fracking, he calls fracking crimes against humanity, and I agree with him. One of the things about this type of waste, it took me a week to get video and photographs of this. This particular field was the same field as the year before, so it's accumulating. But one of the trucks deked me out, and he kind of came from a different direction and sprayed. So I was downwind. And I still feel, because Magic got really sick, my dog, and I took him everywhere when I did these things, and the truck doors were open, and I got sprayed. And my sinuses were in agony for days. And the stench, it was pretty bad. But I wanted to keep taking pictures, right, so I didn't get out of the way. What is in this stuff? We don't know. They should not be allowed to dump their waste. They're dumping it. There was a fellow, he's just pleaded guilty to dumping toxic waste directly into the watershed via sewer systems in the States. It's happening all over the illegal goings on with the dumping. Here in Alberta, one of the companies dumped some of their waste on farmland. I know the Zimmermans that have contaminated water, they also had to cope with illegal dumping of waste on their hayland, really damaged their hay. It's very bad. When you see this, if it's 27 kilometers away on the winds you have down here, you're all breathing it. Not just you on the blood tribe, but everybody here in Lethbridge. You're breathing the mercury, the arsenic. That's why they're supposed to work it in, but they don't, because that costs money. Ban moratorium. Say no to moratoriums. Who wants to waste their time with a moratorium? That's synergy, that's round table, that's to get you all, oh good, we're going to make you do best practices and then come and frack you. Ban. This needs to be made illegal, and I think it will happen. I do. France has made fracking illegal. The company then sued the country, and their Supreme Court upheld it on the constitutional rights of the people there. So, Lethbridge, if you guys can do it. The blood tribe, sadly, your council betrayed you. And a lot of the councils are betraying the First Nations across the country. And I think that's being intentionally set up for the fracking. It's terrible. It's unforgivable. How do you fix that? I don't know. You can't fix an aquifer. How do I fix my aquifer? I can't. It's impossible. So all we can do is to help communities keep it out. Go for a ban, nothing less. And when I said those quotes to the Lethbridge Herald about going nowhere, I had a little bit of a sort of a manipulative intent with that. I didn't think he'd publish it, but I wanted a little foreshadowing for my last slide, because the regulator says none of us will get anywhere. We're going to go nowhere. And indeed, my case is going backwards in terms of justice, in terms of the court system. But we know we're not going to get justice in a court in Canada, not as long as Prime Minister Harper's in charge. But we are getting justice. We are getting justice here. The power of no, that's justice. Oh, I almost forgot about this. Justice, Sunday night. I'm not comfortable doing these things. I did not want to come here. Lori is the reason I'm here. I'm tired. And these events take so much out of me. So I was panicking, and I didn't know how. This is my first talk without my little dog. I didn't know how I was going to cope. And the phone rings, and it's a vineyard in Australia, Southwest Australia. Panicking. They want to do the CBM, and are you the Jessica Ernst? Are you the right Jessica Ernst? I was talking to Lewis Meeks in Pavilion, Wyoming. It's like 11:30 at night, and I'm tired. And they want to frack us, and we'll lose everything. We'll lose the vineyard. We've been building this. We really good wines we make. And I said, you know, wow, yeah, that's really bad. But I'm heading to Lethbridge tomorrow. Can we talk at the end of the week? Lethbridge! I go to the Lethbridge Herald every day. I read the letters. I read the articles. And then she says, we're copying Lethbridge in our community. We're doing the letters to the editor. We're doing articles. We're doing what Lethbridge is doing. That's Australia, South Pacific, down under. You have inspired them. But they're also watching you. That's justice, right? That's people justice.